Hi, it's Muffin, and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today I'll be sharing a recent build that I made, which is the scale model of the Jackdaw from Assassin's Creed 4. If you have an interest in ships, or in Assassin's Creed, or just in general builds in Minecraft, do give this video a watch, and if you enjoy it, drop a like, comment, and please do go check out my other videos because it's within the same world. So for my builds, I like to have a story to them, otherwise they're just a shell in a way. So I'll get into the story behind this build and why it's positioned where it is and why it's fighting the whale later in the video, but to start off with, I'll be going through the build itself and just walking through it and showing the minute details, as well as just sharing, my thought process while building. So the ship itself, as I've mentioned, is a scale model of the Jackdaw from Assassin's Creed 4, built off of the schematics that I found online. In addition to schematics to kind of determine colors and interiors or decks, I had to use reference photos, again, just found online or through gameplay. So initially I'll just be flying through and kind of showing the build, but then I'd come back again in more detail. So the ship itself has 3 layers: the deck, a kind of middle layer, and another lower layer where people will sleep. And just from the brief view, you could have seen all the beds and all the necessities for living, because I wanted to make this build feel as if though it's being lived in and that it's just roaming the seas. So to start off with, I'd like to just walk through the build, just to kind of share what it would be like to actually walk through the Jackdaw. Although everything isn't exact on the deck, I wanted to capture small bits that, someone that's played the game can be like, oh yeah, that was in the game. So like the mortars up at the front, or the little zip lines that you go shooting up the masts with. I also looked at another video online that kind of showed the cross sections of a build of a ship, and kind of incorporated those concepts within my build. So right now I'm in the captain's quarters with a little piano, and all these cannons that you see on the right and left are actually in their correct position. If you ever get the chance to look at a picture of the Jackdaw, I kind of got lucky with the spacing, or maybe it was just positioned because of everything being to scale, but this build itself actually has the correct amount of cannons and the correct spacing, and how they angle outwards or are at the back, or the mortars up at the front. This is a little addition of my own, the bell. But as we come down, first off, we kind of find all these beds. Now I looked online and it said that the Jackdaw has a maximum crew capacity of 50 members, obviously excluding the captain. So I went through and tried sneaking in places where I could place beds throughout the ship, of course below the main deck. And it just so happened that I could only find 50 places to reasonably place everything. So from that kind of side, it really worked out. Coming back to me actually wanting to make the world feel alive, their main food source would have been fish. So I kind of had like a little filleting table with a cookery at the bottom, as well as like a little area to capture water that you could have seen before. And just throughout the build you'll see like different shulker boxes, which in this texture pack kind of resemble barrels, just to show that there's cargo and cannonballs stored around. So the ship itself, I paid massive attention to. I looked at all the shapes and built it accordingly to the sails, to the hull, to the under part of the hull. And I made it in stages as though a ship would be made, starting with the ribs and adding layers and adding this part. One thing that I got quite lucky on was that if I use jungle wood, I think, in this texture pack near water, it kind of gives this appearance of barnacles. So with that being underwater, it really worked well. So all these little ribs, although they're not always visible, still go through the ship, and it just kind of adds a detail that I wanted there, even if you can't see it. And then, so the hull itself is a different shade from the bottom and from the rudder, from the back, but I tried to keep the same colour scheme or something that would work together. So again, all these different layers kind of exist above one another, and where the water is captured and where the steam needs to be released, there's little vents going up that you can see from the deck, and they have like a little grate on the top that can be opened. In the center, there's another opening just for cargo to be moved up and down in, and I just figured that they'd use some of their ropes to kind of hoist it down and up. These sails are 3 sails that overlap one another just at the front, and I kind of wanted to share like the feeling of depth through colour by having the shadows at the bottom, even if though they're not meant to be darkened, they're just meant to kind of resemble shadows. Now the whale itself is another addition, just because I wanted the world to feel alive, as though there's an action scene going on in this build. The whale I'll get into later, but the ship right now is fighting the whale, and the reasoning is that the ship was originally there to kind of escort other ships that would go along the west coast of my center continent, and being a nimble ship and one that can fight way above its league, it can go from Kagutsuchi to Draco's Landing and kind of take ships along that route and protect them, and through that it would kind of be able to get resources as payment or get money as payment, though mostly they just took food as payment. So in the further west that you could see from that map, although it's not shown, there's meant to be Atlantis, and all these sea beasts are meant to be its guardians. So when ships travel along the west coast of the main continent, they sometimes encounter these sea beasts, and one of them is a Moby Dick inspired large whale, which the ship is currently fighting. So that kind of sums up the picture that we're seeing right now, and why there's a whale that big in the first place, and why the ship's there, and kind of how it lives and is able to sustain itself. But the ship itself has a deeper lore that I might get into in this video, but in a brief, it is from the docks of Dawnfall that ended up going and founding its own pirate kingdom, pirate village, and then in a few generations the people over there rebelled, and as such the rulers of that pirate village decided to leave, taking this ship back to their coast, but of course having gone away and having a bad reputation, they kind of got distanced a little bit, but were still part of that community and not fully shunned. And as payment for their downfall and for how their kingdom ended up, now they just go up and down the west coast, escorting ships and just kind of offering a protection. And the real ruling authority that was of the pirate village is the captain of this ship. I wanted the mast to be fully climbable, so using ladders I kind of emulate what it would be like to go up the zip line, at least to the first standing area. Now I've forgotten a ladder here, but ignore that. Continuing up, I actually ended up forgetting the second platform where you could stand on, but other than that, the ship itself is complete, and it has like a very grand feeling to it just because of how tall these masts are. And sometimes, you know, you could just go up and stand there and it'd be raining and it would just give the feeling that you're actually on a ship. And that's one of the feelings I wanted to chase after when building this build. You know, I've spent countless hours, 100%ed Assassin's Creed Black Flag, just because there's a feeling to that game. Now, the whale is one of those sea beasts that I mentioned earlier and is inspired by the Moby Dick. This is also one of the backstories behind why you might find shipwrecks in this world. That if you find any shipwreck that is west of the main continent and approaching Atlantis, or the Atlantis themed builds, it kind of offers an explanation for why those ships, which might appear so strong, were unable to make it to the main continent. Now I wanted to show myself a scale to this whale, and you can just see that it's massive. Every 2 blocks is my height. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you did, please do drop a like, it does boost the algorithm. If you have any feedback or just anything to say, drop it in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, do subscribe. I've got many other videos exploring the world, tying everything together, and many more to come. Most importantly, have a good day, stay safe, bye.